So let's talk about project management. Now, in this class, we've talked about product development and we've talked about, all the different types of projects that an artist could get into. And then in your artist development plan, we talked about 4 of them. So we talked about one project being recording, one project being performing, one project being merchandising, and one project being licensing. The management for this is all the same, though. So although they're different products that we're going to be discussing, the management of this is the same. Okay, so yeah, the project management of this is the same. So here's kind of how I look at project management. Okay, so we do a lot of projects in this business. There's just a lot. If you're going to write a song and do nothing else but write that song, then you're only working on one project. However, as we get further and further into this industry, we're also booking gigs. We're also planning recordings. We're also planning our licensing, and we're planning our merchandising. And so some of these things are going to be in the future, and maybe a gig is, next month, and maybe a recording's coming out in a couple months, and maybe your merch is coming out, at your 3rd gig or 4th gig or something like that. But each one of these is a project, and each one of these projects needs to be managed. So the way I look at it is, if I have too many projects going on at the same time, my plate of projects is overflowing. The problem with that is that all of them suffer. When you have too many projects, all the projects will suffer. And if you have too few projects, the plate is not full enough, then you suffer because you don't have enough income coming in. So the secret to project management is just that, managing the projects so that you don't have too many going on at the same time, and that you have enough that you're going to make some, income to survive so that you can do more projects. Because if you're not making any money with your projects in this industry, you're going to go back to flipping burgers, which is going to take up more of your time and away from your projects. Okay, so these are just things that you just mentally have to be prepared for. You're not overloading, knowing when to say no, or when to say, hey, that's a great idea. I'd love to be a collaborator with that, but can we wait a month? Are going to be coming available for you. So I look at the 5 W's and the H. And what is that? The who, what, when, where, why, and how much. Okay, so that's what we're going to discuss here as we're going through this stuff, is the who, what, when, where, why, and how much. And just remember, a big part of the entertainment is project management, because if the business is all about projects, a big part of this industry is going to be managing those projects. And yes, we can talk about project management, and they offer PhDs in project management. And here we're going to crunch it all down to, maybe a half-hour lecture or something like that. So this is not all the details that go into project management, but it'll give you a good overview of what's going on with this industry, so that when you start thinking about your projects, you can start planning them accordingly. And what you're going to need to do is to become familiar with a thing called a Gantt chart. So a Gantt is going to be able to take all your projects, put them together so that you don't get overloaded with one day of work or a whole week's worth of work, and then the next week being, idle. So things to think about. Some examples of projects: writing a song, recording a song, performing a set of songs, preparing a tour, producing an album, or producing a video. Yes, these are all examples of projects in this industry. And there are many, many more. These are just some of them. Planning, organizing, securing, and managing resources are essential to bring about the successful completion of specific project goals and objectives. Yes, it's a discipline. It's easy to say, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. Well, if you're doing your Gantt chart properly and you're focusing on your projects properly, you're going to have to develop a discipline to getting them completed. You can't tell the talent buyer that you're not ready for a gig and if he can postpone it a day or two. Not going to work. Okay. They've got other artists performing. You can't say, oh, I'm not ready. So you have to be disciplined. You have to think about the preparing for the gig. If you've already started the promotion on a recording that's about to come out, you can't say, oh, we're going to postpone it a month or two and see what happens. You're going to lose credibility and you're going to have a problem with that. So don't do it. Back to the old line, plan the work and work the plan. Okay, so what's the project? Let's think about just one of the projects, and then you can use this process for any other projects that you put on your plate. Why and how. Okay, this is the part that you have to think about for each project. You know, what's the project? Who's involved? Why are you doing it? Where is it happening? When is it to be done, or when is it starting? How much is it going to cost? How much time is it going to take? How much does it affect the other projects? These are little things that you need to think about. We'll start off with the who. And I look at the who as the sponsor. Okay, so it might be you, it might be the artist, but I just call them a sponsor because it could be the band. I mean, it could be just the performers involved or the songwriters involved. So we'll just call them sponsor for this presentation. So who's the sponsor of the project? In addition to the sponsor, who cares about the project? Well, obviously the sponsor. In addition to the sponsor, who else? The collaborators. Okay, so who's on the team for this project? Maybe the investors, maybe record labels, maybe an agent, maybe a talent buyer, maybe a music soup. Could be lots of different people. Write them down. Who cares about this project? Who's on the team? When you start putting together who the team is for the project, who's on this team? The band, a producer or producers, an engineer or engineers, an agent or a promoter or a distributor or a publicist, a publisher. Who's on the team? Write them all down. And I would just write down at this point the titles, not the names of the individuals yet, just the titles. Because some people are going to take two roles. Well, I'm in charge. Yeah. Okay. Well, sometimes if you're doing a recording, maybe the producer's in charge. Okay. Maybe if you're doing a gig, maybe the talent buyer's in charge. Okay. So who's in charge? The idea guy? The person who came up with the idea of the project? Are they in charge? Sometimes that's a good idea. Sometimes it's a bad idea. Is the artist in charge? Oh, yeah? Ask the record label who's in charge if you think the artist is. Is the producer in charge? Well, maybe, if it's a recording. Is the investor in charge? Watch out for this one. Investors always want to be in charge. It's my money and I'm going to tell you what to do. Don't do a deal like that with an investor like that, okay? Or is the agent in charge? Perhaps. About the project, and then who's in charge? And then who's affected by this project? I would assume that the artist is going to be affected. But what about the fans? What about investors? What about all the collaborators? How are they affected? And I can tell you this. If that list that you've come up with your who's involved, if they're not making any money, they're not going to be involved. They're going to choose a different project. So you have to think about that when you're doing your budgets, and we'll get into the how much in just a minute. All right, who knows most about the project? Well, The idea guy, maybe. What about this producer? Probably, if that's the recording that you're doing. Maybe the agent knows the most about it if it's a tour. Maybe the manager knows most about it if it's looking at the big picture of the artist. And then who can help with the solution? Okay, so every project is there and they all have problems. Okay, where am I going to record? Where's the gig going to be? You know, how am I going to get there? Who do I call for licensing at Warner Brothers, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so who can help? And these may be some of the same collaborators, and they may be gatekeepers. Okay, so who are these people? Identify them. The distributor, the label, the agent, the promoter, the talent buyer, the music soup. Who can help? Oh, and who else needs to be informed? Okay, the team, the collaborators, the promotion targets, fans. Okay, who else? Write them down. Any questions on the who? Okay, so let's talk about the what. What does the sponsor want to achieve with the project? A gig, a song, a recording, a tour, a t-shirt? I don't know what it is. What do you want to get done? What do you want to achieve? And then what really matters? Quality, I hope. Quality should be number one, okay? I can tell you, if you got quality, sales will follow and happiness will follow. If you got lousy quality, sales will falter and happiness will falter. But what really matters, okay? Is it being impressive? Is it trying to be powerful? Is it trying to make money? Well, let's go back to quality. What are the outcomes or what are the objectives of the project? Okay, think about those, write them down. And what problem or issue or opportunity is the project addressing? Well, one address to, a project would be, make more money. Okay. Can the project make more money for the artist? Certainly. That's usually why an artist chose the project. But if it's a promotional tour and not going to make any money, perhaps the opportunity of a promotion tour is to get the artist out there, and therefore it's addressing that particular problem. Okay? And what resources are needed for the project? Write this down. Resources needed. Okay? How much time is it going to take to do? Prepare for it, get it implemented, make the action plan, pull it off, write thank you notes, et cetera, et cetera. How much time is involved with putting together this project? How much money will it take? How much talent will it take? Does it need more money? Many times, yes, it does. Okay? Time is money. Money is time. Think about this, okay? Time can take away from other projects. I call it opportunity cost. Opportunity cost is when you're putting money and time into one project, but it's losing the opportunity of another project. We've talked about this briefly in the past. So as a songwriter, you write a song, that's great. Take off the songwriter hat and you put on the publishing hat and you go pitch the song, maybe to a band or to a publisher or to a music soup or a record label, whatever. While you're doing that, the songwriting is hurting because you've lost the opportunity of writing songs while you're out trying to pitch the song that you just wrote. So that's an opportunity cost. Okay? So perhaps it might be better to take your song, hand it over to a music publisher and say, go do this. I write. And therefore you don't lose the opportunity cost. However, by signing up with a publisher, you might lose, a percentage of income from that particular song because you're not pitching it yourself. things to consider. Okay. What are the risks involved with the project? More time, that's the opportunity cost we just talked about. Money, relationships, yep. I can tell you that I've ruined a few relationships because I spend more time on the music business than sometimes I have with those relationships. And the relationships get, skewed, and I can't complete the relationships the best I wanted to because I was putting more time into the project. Is that an opportunity cost? Perhaps. Perhaps it's a good idea to leave your work behind. I've been accused of being a workaholic. I don't think so. I don't like it to be called work. I call it play. I'm doing it because I want to do it. Because I'm having fun doing it, and it's play. But some people think I work too much. Perhaps. I like it. I put in 16-hour days, many days in a row, many weeks in a row sometimes. I enjoy it. So that's where my heart is. Okay, what assumptions do you need to test? Is there a market? And what about this one? Is everyone on the team available to do this project? Something to think about, okay? Now, if you're writing a song and you've got a loved one in mind that you're writing your I Love You song to, that's your market. Now, are you thinking outside the box and saying, well, maybe I can use this song for somebody else to give to a loved one? Okay, now your market has expanded. But if you're only writing for one person and not thinking about the broader market, then that's your market, that one person. Back to quality, right? Now, is everyone on the team available? You can't just assume that everyone's going to drop everything they're doing just to come and help you with your project. That's why you need a budget, because people will drop what they're doing if they're getting paid. So something to consider with what's going on assumptions. Okay. Now we're going to talk more, but there's other things in how much. But what's the budget for the project? How much are you willing to put into it? How much time and how much money? A lot of times I think about, when is the last brush stroke that an artist puts on the canvas? When is the last time that they could do that? So these are something to consider. How much time and how much money is going into the project? What's the budget? Are there any questions on the what? All right, let's talk about the what. Let's talk about the where. What happened to when? What happens? Let's talk about the where. Where are the resources for the project? Well, I would hope that you're keeping together a very good database of your contacts. Now, we don't do much databasing in this class. We do in the record class. But in this class, we talk about it, but that's kind of it. I think I provided you a database.xls file if you want to update your database. This is a great spot to keep your resources. So look at your resources and think about your database and add them to this so that you can get your projects worked well and make it work for you. Okay. We talked about your network and your relationships. We've talked about that numerous times in this class. This business is about networking and relationships. So capitalize on those. Got a train going by and I got a crow honking at me over there. Anyway, okay. Where will the project team be based? Will it be based at home? Will it be based at an office? Will it be based on a bus? So think about, where's the project team going to be based? A lot of times it's online too, so don't forget that when thinking about where. Where is it going to be based? And yes, a lot of things are collaborated online these days. I know that I've done a lot of co-writing online. I've done a lot of scheduling with agents and music soups and publishers online. So a lot of times it's based online. Okay, put it in the plan. And now think about this. We're doing a business plan for the artist. I want you to be aware that each project that you do should have a project plan. You're going, oh, no, not another plan. Yes, another plan, the project plan. What goes into the project plan? Pretty much the same thing that goes into a business plan. Okay? You're going to talk about the sales of the project. We're going to talk about the marketing of the project, the promotion of the project, the advertising of the project, the competition of the project, the finance of the project. Same topics, but reduced. This is a project plan. That's why we're not really working on project plans within the business plan right now. We're just talking about the business plan. But I want you to start thinking that each project should have a plan on what you're working, okay? And I will not recommend that you keep it in your head. Write it down. Start manifesting this in a tangible way, okay? So where's the plan? And I would recommend that you use something like Google Docs, especially if you're going to have collaborators, which you will. Pretty much every plan that you come up with, every project that you come up with, unless you're doing everything solo, it's very difficult to do that in this industry, but it's possible. So I would use something that you can share, Dropbox or Google Docs or one of those kind of shareable programs for databases. Okay, any questions on the where? Not you, but the crow asking questions. All right, so let's talk about the when. When does the project start? Okay. Well, this is when it starts. When you start thinking about the starting, this is when you're going to start writing notes. Okay, we're going to look at what you're going to do is you want to look at all the possible projects out there, and then you want to be able to get back to those projects in the best way you can. Okay. So when you do this, you're going to figure out your first project. When does it start? And I don't necessarily mean what time of the day. I want to talk about when the project starts. And that's basically means when do you start putting together the project plan? Okay. Now you might have a start date within the plan saying, okay, we're going to plan a recording session. That's going to be our project. And that recording is going to start in a month or 2 months. But the planning of the project starts right now of where you're going and what you're doing. Okay, so they might have a couple different start dates in there. When are you going to be starting your promotion? When are you going to be starting your recording, if that's the gig? You know, when is the gig? The project for the gig does not start at the gig. It starts before the gig, long before the gig. And I told you that when I do record projects, I start 270 days. When I do events and bookings, I usually start 90 days. Okay, so that's how I do things. That way I know that all the T's are crossed and all the dots are dotted. Okay, because I want everything to be in good quality ways. So, well, okay, and then, of course, when do you plan to finish it? Now, I can tell you that a recording is not finished when you walk out of the studio. The recording is an ongoing process, and it might take some time to really start the promotion of because once you do a recording, isn't there more work? Yeah, promotion, getting it on the radio, right? And then maybe you put together a plan that says, okay, recording project, and then another plan that says promotion of the recording project. So you got two different projects going at the same time, because one will start, maybe it will end walking out of the studio, but how are you going to promote it now? Okay. These are things that you have to think about. What's the finish date? When you finish a gig, is it over when you get paid? I hope not. I hope that there's a couple more days of work that you need to complete in order to make that work for you. For example, sending a note to the talent buyer saying thank you, or following up and listening to the recording of that gig to find out what you did good, bad, and ugly, or even asking the talent buyer, can we get another gig? Okay, so many times things are not done when you think they're done. And a P circle copyright and a C circle copyright, those things go on and on and on and on. Okay, planning that is what's going to take some time. Yeah, there's only a couple things when we talk about the when. When does it start and when does it end? Are there questions on the when? The crow's still asking for questions. Okay. All right, let's talk about the big why. Why this project and not another project? We talked about the opportunity cost, right? So one project may be losing an opportunity of another project. Okay. Maybe there's better income potential with one project over another. And maybe because it's a part of the long-term plan. I don't know. So why this project and not another project? Okay. Why would you invest in this project? Income? You thinking about income, or are you thinking about promotion? Or you're doing the project because it's there and there's no other reason. It's just like, well, that's the next project. So why would you invest in this project? Why would the artist invest in this project, time or money? And why would an investor invest in this project? Keep in mind, there are investors that do investment in tours. There are investment in just recording projects. Sometimes investors just invest in merchandise. Sometimes they invest in the artist because of the songwriting. So there's lots of different investors, and they come in on various parts of the project, and these are things that you need to consider. Why would someone be interested in investing in this project? Other questions on the why? All right, so let's talk about the how. How will the situation be different when the project is successfully completed? Notoriety. Hey, we have an album out. Yes. We have a couple more singles. We got an EP. Maybe the situation changes because you can quit flipping burgers and now you have more income. Or maybe it adds to your resume saying, oh, we've got this involved with this movie, or we've got this being airplayed now. I mean, lots of different things could happen with the how. Here's a very important question. And now you can ask the I instead of the third person that we talked about. How do I contribute to the organization, the project? Okay, how can I help? I'm a team player. I can help with the team. I'm a musician. I can help with the recording or the gigging or those kind of things. I'm a collaborator with this, and this. I'm investing my time. I'm investing my money. How can I help this project? Here's another one. How will changes to the project be reported and approved? If you're not in charge, we talked about who is in charge, and then what happens if there's a change? Do you call everybody on the phone? Do you send out an email? Do you do a text message? Do you set up a meeting? And who has to say okay? Just the person in charge? Well, we've canceled our meeting for today, or recording for today. We're going to meet tomorrow. Oh, I thought we were off tomorrow. I've made other plans. Sorry, I've made the approval. It's for tomorrow. No, 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 no. So how are you going to make the changes? Think about this. How are changes to the project going to be reported and approved? And that approved by means by all collaborators who are vested in that particular time period. If it's a promoter and they're coming on board 3 months later, it might not be needed to be reported to at this point. If it changes them and their curriculum and their promotion, certainly they're going to need to be notified and approve that. Okay. Okay, how? Once again, how? How is the project plan going to be determined? This is the project plan. How are you going to determine the plan? Some people use a backdated calendar. They go, oh, well, we've done this before, and this is what we did. Great. Put it in the plan. If you have it laid out step by step, perhaps now is a good time to go back and say, oh, we had to do this, we had to do this, we had to do this. Put them into some sort of order of when they were done. Another thing, we were talking about a promotion project. Well, a lot of people use a backdated calendar for that. I am one of those. Okay, so for example, and I have a whole presentation on backdated calendars, but it's a lot easier in a class. Let's say I have a gig in a month. And today is the 12th of October. Say I have a gig on November 12th. It has to be done before that. Well, today is a Monday. That probably like to have an article in the Friday magazine on that previous Friday. And I would like to have something come out in Scene magazine today, which means I have to send a news release to both those organizations about 10 days out backwards, which means I have to write it and proof it and send it, probably another 7 days before that, which means, you see what I mean? So you're backdating. You look at the date of when things are going to happen, and then you backdate from there on what gets done before that date occurs. That's how you determine your promotion plan. It's backdated calendar. The other way is to use the Gantt chart. And we're going to talk about the Gantt chart, I hope, in just a moment, depending on where we are. The other part of how is how much. We talked a little bit about how much already, but how is the budget created? Did you guess? Did you use previous projects? Did you talk to some people and ask for some? And then how does this reflect in your business plan? The artist business plan, okay? In the business plan, we're going to talk about projects and management, projects and, excuse me, products and services. And then in that products and services, you're going to be listing your projects. Okay, so this is going to be reflected in your artist business plan when you start talking about your projects. That's why I thought it was a good idea to talk about project management before we got into projects and services, products and services. Okay, so how does this reflect in the business plan? Okay, look at your artist development plan too. Okay, but in the artist business plan, how does this reflect in there? So it might come out because this project might involve finance. So, okay, look at the finance plan. It might include sales. Probably will. Okay, so look at the sales plan. It might include customers. Oh, you mean fan customers? Yeah. How about music industry customers? The same. Okay, so what's the plan for this? How are this going to be reflected in your artist business plan? How is it going to be affect your promotion plan? advertising plan, your competition plan. All these things should be in there, and all of these show also up in your project plan. Okay, how much is the project going to cost? If you're a songwriter, it might not cost you any money, but it might cost you time. I don't know about you guys, but when I'm writing, sometimes I've written a song in 10 minutes. It pops up, it's done. I've got the lyrics, I've got the melody, I've got the chord progression, everything is flowing. I'm on the wavelength to make it happen. Yeah, I've written songs in 10 minutes. And some good songs in 10 minutes. Now, I've tweaked them and so forth, and it's taken more than 10 minutes, but sometimes real short time period. However, I've written some songs that have taken me months. It's just that one word I'm looking for, or just the bridge. Where's that confounded bridge? Or I'll try and make the chorus a little bit hookier so that it's a little bit more of an earworm. And sometimes that just goes on and on and on, and I can't tell you how many hundreds of songs are not completed. Either A, they were no good in the first place, or B, I just never got around to it. Another idea hit me and I went off on a tangent and started pursuing that project instead of the one that I was working on. It happens, okay? So think about your finance. How much is the project going to cost? Who's going to pay for it? We already talked about that. Maybe you're going to talk to an accountant and perhaps look at your budget. Is this going to fit when you talk about the how much? Okay. How much financial return is expected? 0? $1 million? I mean, I don't know. Look at your probability of this. Look at your expected return. Okay, what's it going to be? And this is an interesting little equation. I don't use it, but I do look at probability, and I do think about return, and I do think about the time that it takes to get that return to come in. Project or takes before I see any return, but I know they're coming. And that's same with my investments when I think about investing in certain things. So I personally like to invest in precious metals, and sometimes that it goes up and down a little bit, but overall it's a flat. But I know that in a couple of years it'll go up. So if you've got a little extra cash, you want to look at precious metals, I highly recommend that you invest into something like silver. But it's up to you, gold and silver. But that's the same thing. How much is my return? I put this much money in, I expect to get this much money out. So those are things that I look at. Are there any questions on the how?